Welcome back. We're glad you are still with us tonight. Now, this Saturday, the 11th of July, the continent will be marking the 4th Africa Anti-Corruption Day. And the theme this year is fighting corruption through effective and efficient judicial systems. Now, of course, this comes on the back of what has been a very historic win in the courts against John Waluke and Grace Wahungu. So tonight we want to speak to two of those very important officers in the fight against corruption. And tonight on the program, I'm joined by the CEO of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Twalib Mbarak, as well as the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nurdin Haji. Gentlemen, good evening, and thank you for making the time for us tonight. Bwana Twalib, I think I'll begin with you. We've seen a renewed confidence in the fight against corruption in this country, and there also seemed to be a time when the EACC was being sidelined, seemingly at least, in the fight against corruption. What has changed?
Thank you, Yvonne. I think the issue of that EACC went to bed and it's not working could be both factual and perception in terms of actually the media coverage and other factors. But of course, we have our new strategy for the Commission in the next 4 years, which focuses not on quantity of cases, but quality of cases. We are focusing on high-impact cases. We are focusing on asset recovery, that is asset tracing and asset recovery. And we also focus on the prevention. We believe these three pillars will send a very good message in the fight against corruption. So when we talk of high-impact cases, you can see very well that the EACC is focusing on people like governors. I'm sure they are not happy to see me, most of them, because there are quite a number of them, they are here under investigations. A number of them, we have charged them before court. And we are looking also at national level, we are looking at institutions. You may realize that in the last 3 months, we have taken quite a number of people to court, from the big state corporation to institutions like the School of Law. So actually, the issue here is the reprioritization of the cases that we are handling, leaving the small cases, not that we don't investigate, but we are really focusing on the high-impact cases, because when I took over this office, I said that I will focus on what I termed as the big baboons, so that we can pass a message to the rest that it doesn't matter at what level you are. So, okay. And I think it is working. And right. The team that I'm working with, they are quite efficient. And there's also an improvement between the DPP, Office of the DPP and the EACC. Right. We have restructured on the way we are handling our files. Okay, and that's an interesting thing, because you talk about going after the big baboons and not the big fish, as we've heard. But you've also talked about a greater working relationship between the two offices of the EACC and of the DPP. Nurdin, is this a position you agree with? What are you doing differently?
I don't think there's much that we are doing differently. It's just that we've agreed that whether you're going for the big fishes or the baboon, it's the same thing. And that eventually, our goal is to strategically, as the CEO has just said, strategically target on the high-impact cases with quality, more than bringing a lot of cases that do not necessarily have the evidence that is required to get a conviction. Okay. So in essence, I think through the MAT, we've managed with all the investigative bodies to work in tandem.
Okay, so we're seeing greater cooperation, and you've said, Matt, just for our viewers, it's a multi-agency task force, right? Now that the focus this year, when we're taking a look at the Africa Anti-Corruption Day, is effective and efficient judicial systems. Nurdin, we've seen before some sort of push and pull between the prosecution, the investigation side, and the courts in the judiciary. We've even heard the Chief Justice talking about, the charge sheets. It says they're loaded, and the claim on that other end is if you bring them cases which have strong evidence, then they will convict. Is there an improvement in the relationship between the judiciary and the prosecution and the investigative arm?
I think there is a big improvement. We've managed to align our priorities to match what is required of us. In essence, the judiciary, I think, after much discussion and through the NCAJ and the leadership of the CJ, we've managed to make quite a number of strides, especially at the court level and at the magistrate level, where he's managed to give us more magistrates to be able to listen to more cases and to give us the ability to complete cases in record time. So if you look at, for example, the Waluke case that you've just alluded to now, we managed to do it under 2 years and finish and get a conviction. And this is what the future beckons for the cases that we will bring forth. And I think we've also been able to, as you said, review some of the charge sheets, focus on the individuals that are more, for lack of a better word, that are more responsible, and that we are able to also focus on the big fish or the big baboons, as the CEO says, and we're able then to prove our case beyond reasonable doubt.
Okay.
And that's what we've been able to do.
All right.
And it's through the coordination of both the investigators, prosecutors, and the judiciary.
Yeah, and let's spend a little bit of time on that Waluke case, because it was historic in many ways. Twalib, in the judgment, the magistrate appeared to question the role of the law firms in the scandal, even though it is not yet clear what the law firms did. Are both you and the DPP's office considering the observation of the magistrate as a basis for perhaps further investigation into the roles that these firms played in the deal, in the saga?
I think, Yvonne, I've seen that. I read 2 interesting articles in one of the leading newspaper about that. People questioning what happened to the rest. You see, in investigation, you cannot be able to net everybody because you must have a focus. And just for the public information, this case is not yet finished because we are going to the second phase of this case, and that is asset recovery and confiscation. So it is too early for people to say that there are other people that have not been netted. It is just like fishing. When you throw a net, there are some fish that will escape from the net. But it doesn't mean that you're not doing well. Equally, a policeman can walk in River Road and arrest somebody with a roll of bank. There may be other people also there walking with a roll of bank. But you see, once you have been arrested, you not say that, how come that there are others here and you've just arrested me? So the focus here, actually, the case is not yet done in terms of asset recovery, asset tracing, because we will go for the asset tracing to try to get if there is any asset that these people have as a result of this scandal, and we shall proceed for asset recovery.
Okay.
So it is too early to start saying that this case, there is something that was missing. You know, in the military, we say that when you open too many battlefronts, you are guaranteed of losing the war or the battle.
All right. Speaking of asset recovery, just my final one on this one before we move to the other issues I want us to discuss tonight. Bwana Nuruddin, now that we have both of you here, but Nuruddin, maybe you can confirm this. There's been a lot of rumor, including on social media, about who has managed to, raise part of those fines that they were given. Are you aware of whether any of these 2 convicts have paid their fines, whether they've raised the money in part or in whole?
No. What I know is that they have appealed, and the application is before the court, and we are preparing ourselves. I'm not aware of any individuals. This is only on social media, but nothing has come forth so far.
Okay. I'd like us to talk about, other, there's been other...
But yeah. Yvonne also, sorry, if they seek to pay, we will also question where that money is coming from. And remember, EACC also has that mandate.
So would you be going after, we hear people might be contributing, would you be taking a look at those people who are making contributions to the fines that were awarded by the court?
Oh yes, of course we'll be doing that. It must be from legitimate sources. We can't accept people who are going to bring proceeds of crime to come and help another criminal, get them off the hook.
Okay, so I want to talk about other big cases. Twalib, you'd mentioned some of these other big cases that are there, but some then question, the argument has been that our laws are inadequate, and like Nurdin says, this case of Waluke took place and was concluded in under 2 years, but there's been many other cases. For example, the status of the dam saga, people have been sent home, Rotich's case, the former CS for Treasury. What is the status of some of these other big cases that we have seen in the country, and what's taking so long?
Maybe I should answer that.
I think the dam case, the DPP is better placed.
Nurdin, go for it.
Yeah. No, for the dam case, for example, that came from a different agency, which is the DCI. The matter is before court, of course. Remember, Yvonne, the dam case is an absolutely, it's a very complex case. We have foreign individuals involved, and some of the delays are occasioned by them not being here. But also the fact that we've also made applications to foreign jurisdictions to assist us with more evidence, which is out there. So we've applied for MLAs, and the process is quite tedious. And I think the court is cognizant of that. But even then, we are hopeful that we'll be able to conclude this case in good time. Maybe not 2 years, but definitely within 3 to 4 years. That's our estimation, and it's because of the complexity of the case.
Okay. Twalib, you'd mentioned asset recovery as one of the main areas that you're focusing on, that you believe is yielding results. Are you able to tell us how much we've recovered? We've seen several trips abroad. We've seen various foreign governments pledging support towards helping us trace some of our assets that have been stashed abroad. Do you have any sort of update on how much we have recovered so far, how much more we're looking to recover in the next few months, year or more?
Thank you, Yvonne. I think I'll focus on the internal recovery of assets. And we are talking of corruptly acquired assets which are worth about 17 billion shillings, of which 10.9 billion were recovered in the last financial year, that is 2019-2020. And an example of this is the Woodley estate within Kibera. We won that case. And all the value of that, the land and the houses, is totaling about 1.4 billion. Take note that the EACC, we have our own valuers. We also have the 1,800 acres of land in Kalro, formerly Kari, in Naivasha, next to the Delamere farm. And that is about 8.7 billion shillings. It has reverted back to the institution. We have managed to recover Resco's Primary School in Nairobi, which is about 700 million shillings. We have recovered the University of Nairobi land next to Yaya Center, which is about 2.4 billion. We have recovered land that belongs to judiciary in Eldoret. We have recovered quite a number of railway plot. We are in the process now of recovering land. For those of us who normally go to the airport, JKIA, there is a 20-acre of land next to, just after Panari, which belongs to the meteorological station. our department, and the case is ongoing. So actually, we have about 357 cases in court seeking to recover corruptly acquired assets worth almost 9 billion shillings. For the external aspect, my counterpart Nurdin has talked about the dam, and they are doing the tracing of which money leaked to foreign entities. We are looking at the issue of the Jersey case, and the money there is likely to be recovered and repatriated back to Kenya. So, and we are also trying to recover from individuals who have got what you call unexplained wealth. You remember very well, I think it was 2 weeks ago that we took somebody from the Kenya Revenue Authority to court over tax evasion, and at the same time we are following about his unexplained wealth, because this guy is worth about 600 million shillings.
Okay, here's another case that has taken quite some time and is also a high-profile case. It's been about 2 years, if not more, with the Ruaraka land scam. Bona DPP, this one is to you. 2 years since the case and the story broke, but there's been 1 year of back and forth between the two officers of the EACC and the DPP, with many asking the question, is the Ruaraka land scam too hot to handle? Is it a high-profile political case that perhaps both officers are afraid to touch and resolve?
No, there's nothing like that, Yvonne. There are many factors that we have to look into before you make a decision to charge. And one of it is that this particular matter is before the Court of Appeal on a civil matter that seeks to determine the ownership of the land. And we think that this case has an important bearing on the decision to charge. So depending on the outcome, we will be making that decision in due course. I think the High Court was very clear on who bears responsibility, and we might be forced to make the decision based on the ruling of the High Court. And I think it's a matter of time, and I've made that clear. In addition, there is the financials that have not been completed, because we've made several applications to several jurisdictions, including Mauritius, and it has not been forthcoming. So some of the decisions we are going to make in due course to decide the best way forward. Okay. Yvonne, if you look at Waluke case, for example, there was also a foreign element. And we, after some time, we managed to convince the authorities in South Africa to allow us to have witnesses to come and give evidence. And these are some of the things behind the scene that we have to go through before a decision to charge and before we make a move, things that have to be worked on. Sometimes it takes time, and individuals and I know Kenyans need to be patient. At the end of it, what we assure the public is that we will deal with each and every case that is brought before us if it meets the threshold and if the evidence is sufficient enough for us, in our opinion, to get a prospective conviction. So this will be dealt with in due course.
Okay, I have one last question, and that's to you, Bona Twalib. I hope you can respond in as short amount of time as possible. The war on corruption in this country, as you know and hear, has been claimed to be a political witch hunt and a political tool to settle political scores, with reports of it leaning to one side of the political divide, depending on who one supports. Is that the case? Is the EACC, perhaps the DPP, being used to settle political scores? Is the charge sheet based on political inclination?
Thank you, Yvonne. That is a perception. And I keep on asserting that my background is military. I go by facts. We have charged people who are from either side of the political angle. Of course, when you arrest somebody who is from the system may say this and that. You arrest somebody who is perceived to be on the other side. And EACC has got records We have culprits from all parts of the country. We have a case against a former ODM MP in Kasarani. We have cases of governors from Governor Ojamong is from the ODM. Governor Waititu is from the other side. Our governor in Nairobi here is from the other side. So we have a mixed, we have a mixed plate of cases that nobody can stand and challenge the EACC that is taking political sides. And maybe very soon, in the next 1 month, 2 months, we'll have another 2 governors or 1 governor from another angle, adding that plate to be more delicious in terms of varieties of culprits that we are arresting.
Twalib, can you tell us which ones? Which governors are you targeting? Which ones are you going after?
Definitely, I cannot tell you, Yvonne, but very soon we'll have at least 1 or 2 governors, and you'll see it.
All right, thank you very much to both of you for speaking with us tonight. And indeed, this is all gearing up to Saturday when Africa celebrates or commemorates Africa Anti-Corruption Day. It's the 4th one, and it's focusing on efficient and effective judicial system. My thanks to both my guests tonight, the CEO of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Twalib Mbarak, as well as the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nurdin Haji. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. We want to take a break. We have the day's business and sports news. And of course, the gang is still to come, so stay with us.